Hi, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of your lecture. We're jumping into building positive family relationships and some of the meetings that we might partake in order to do so. The first thing we need to look at for family relationships is our attitude and making sure we have the right attitude moving into building a relationship. This is really the foundation for making sure it's positive. We want to make sure we have this understanding and we have an attitude that all families bring something to the table. They all have knowledge and strengths and skill sets that are going to be contributing positively to the growth of their child and to the program itself. We also want to know and believe that families are their child's first teacher and their most valuable teacher. It really puts the importance back on them. So even though you might have a great deal of knowledge about your skill set and your abilities, whether that be social work or counseling or teaching, ultimately that child is going to be spending the most time with their family, with their caregivers. And so they are the first caregivers. And if we can help them be better caregivers and more positive and put them at the focus, we're doing more help for that child than if we put my value on ourselves. We also want to keep in mind that the family is the expert on the child. While you are going to come into whatever field you're going into with a great deal of information about how to help that family, how to help the child progress, when it comes to actually knowing the child best, the family is going to know the child best. Family contributions are essential to engagement and understanding. Again, thinking about being two-way. It's a reciprocal relationship. I'm going to teach you things, you're going to teach me things, and that's how we're going to make sure that this child really excels. Okay? When we think about relationship practices, there are 6 relationship practices we want to make sure we're utilizing all the time, and that's keeping the child family relationship at the center. We want to make sure that everything we're doing is promoting a positive relationship between the child and the family, and it's getting building their foundation. We want to make sure that when we engage with families, we're sharing open communication. So we're listening, but we're also sharing honestly. And part of that honest communication is sharing observations of what we see the child doing. Now, these observations are not subjective. We're not saying, oh, she looks so cute, or wow, look at her. I can't believe how smart she is. It's very objective. Oh my goodness, did you see how she put those 2 puzzle pieces in? She must have just learned that. Have you been working with her on that at home? So it's his ability to kind of acknowledge what she's doing and give parents a chance to offer information back to you. We also want to make sure that we're reflecting and incorporating family culture. Every single family you work with is going to have a different family culture. Regardless of what ethnicity or background they come from, there is a specific family culture that belongs with families. So we want to go in with an open mind, ready to learn and incorporate that so families feel comfortable, but also so children feel represented, especially if you're going to be in a school program. We want children to feel like it's an extension of home and that the curriculum makes sense to them and they feel connected to their learning. We also want to acknowledge caregiver competence. Going back to our attitude of families being the first teacher and the most important person in that child's life, when we acknowledge their competence, we're building their abilities to be stronger teachers. And we're also reinforcing this idea that they are capable teachers. And that's going to build lifelong learning for the children, even after they move away from your services. And that could be something as like going back to the puzzle piece example a minute ago. Wow, she just put 2 puzzle pieces together. You said you were going to work on that. You must have really worked on that before I came. Must have been really paying off. All that work you're doing is paying off. Oh, I saw how she came to you. I can tell that she really trusts you and wants your attention. All of those pieces, letting them know that they're doing a good job, are very valuable. Now, the 2 last pieces are really important as well. The first one being reflecting on your own culture. You're going to go into circumstances where you don't have the same culture, a lot of them, regardless of what culture you are. And so you need to kind of keep that in check and understanding that just because you have a certain belief system and a certain way of executing things and delivering instruction, that does not mean it is the way that the family needs to go about it. The last one is validating emotions. And this is true for both people, for families and for yourself. Working with families and working with children is a very emotional job, and it's okay to feel a lot of different feelings. And so you need to acknowledge them, validate them, take time for yourself, reflect, honor those feelings so you can be productive and helpful with families. This is also true for families. It is an intense experience to have service providers in your home. It can feel a little invasive. You can have a lot of emotions. Even if you have a typically developing child who is just transitioning to preschool, there are a lot of emotions going into that transition, that first transition away from home. Now, if you add other elements on that, if you're going into social work or counseling or special education, you're adding additional factors that make it very emotional. And there's a lot of experiences and a lot of feelings. We want to make sure families feel validated in that. And not that, oh, that happened to me, but empathetic in the sense of, I can imagine this is really hard. I can see how this would be frustrating. I can see how you would feel scared. all of those pieces. And this is great. Yeah, I can see how it would be very exciting, positive and negative, right? Making sure that they have a right to feel what they're feeling and you have a right to feel what you're feeling. All right. We're also going to talk a little bit about assessing the relationship. When we work with families, we always want to make sure that we are constantly engaging in this reflection. That's why I highlighted number 3. Even if you are not formally assessing your relationship with families and children, you're reflecting on it constantly. So you engage with families, you reflect on how it went. How did I think that was perceived? Did I get the information across I needed to get across? Is there something I should have done better? Is there something I'm going to do differently in the future? Is there a reason I said it the way I said it? Is there some implicit bias that I have? Did I not say it to that family because I have some kind of implicit bias? Am I delivering the message differently because I have an implicit bias? Am I resistant to communicating with that family because of something? So you're always kind of reflecting on how you engaged and how much you engage. So that's constantly happening. And with that reflection, then you take it and you kind of look for the understanding of it. Why is it happening? How can I get the cause or the issue of this? Because once I can get at the cause and the issue, I can start addressing the problem. Yes, I didn't communicate as much with that family because I didn't believe that they were going to take the information as seriously. And that's because maybe they are, I don't know, lower socioeconomic status. I believe that they were too busy to take my information into account, so I didn't communicate all of it to them. That is a bias. I had an implicit bias. I got at the cause of it. Now I know how to address it. I'm going to make sure that I communicate the exact same way to all of my families and make sure they have a bare minimum of communication, regardless of the background they come from, regardless of how much I perceive them being busy. And these are real issues that I've seen come across for teachers. When they feel like families are not receiving the information, they start cutting it off. And that's the exact opposite thing of what we need to do. There's no judgment. We should definitely make sure we're always checking in. So start with reflection, always, always. But if you're not reflecting and you want to, well, you are reflecting, but if you want to be a little bit more formalized with assessing your relationship, there are data measures and actual observation or surveys you can take. This is called the development of a measure of family and provider-teacher relationship quality. And there are lots of different versions depending on what you're doing. There's a director measure, there's a teacher measure, parent measure, family service staff measure, family service staff parent measure. So there's lots of different ones you can take a look at. I'm just going to pull up the teacher one for right now, and you can kind of take a look at some of the items that you might be asked. So it's for you to reflect on. Since September, how often have you met or talked with the parents? And you can mark all of these things. And it says lots of different areas, right? Making sure we're getting in concerns and also strength-based, their abilities, their learning, maybe problems they're having, what to accept at each stage. So it gives you an idea of, am I covering all the areas that I need to talk with parents about? How often am I doing it? Am I doing it enough? And it's very concrete and objective, right? You have a chance to sit down and actually fill something out that can be very meaningful. And then once you fill it out, you have all this great data that you can go back and measure yourself against later on as you try and improve. So that's something to be mindful of. And maybe you do it for every family and you start looking for patterns to see, are there certain ethnicities that I'm doing differently? Are there certain characteristics like socioeconomic status that I'm doing differently? Am I treating single family families differently? Am I treating families of different ethnicities differently? Am I treating families that have different family structures or of homosexual parents? Like, are those pieces all the same? So once you get enough data, you can actually take a very objective view at how you are engaging with families. However, if you're not doing that, I'm going to go back to reiterating that you're always engaging in this reflection process. It's a super important process to building relationships and making sure that you are providing an equitable communication that's leading to positive relationships. With that, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about meetings and visits. I'll see you then.